was really the only resort that we had. And fortunately, by using some of the permanent fund earnings, we didn't have to hire any more state employees. You just simply reduced the amount of the dividend. Now, I'm hoping with that in the near future, price of oil is going up, production's going up. We'll have a new administration, I hope. Hope I'm part of that. And we'll be able to restore the full amount of the dividend again. But we had to make these reductions now just to meet our current needs in government.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you all staying on subject and on time. However, our time is getting short, so we're going to give the last question the first chance to respond over here to Deborah Call. And the question is specifically, Deborah, what is going to need to be done to further the AKA LNG project and terminus in Nikiski?
What does further need to be done to further the project?
Yes.
From what I understand, and I'm not a professional politician by any means, I am a reader of the paper as well as the news, and as far as moving the project forward, I think it's going to have to be a project that certainly creates jobs in Alaska. And I think if we can find a partner that would incorporate that into the agreement, that's particularly important. I think the other part of the equation is with the owners of the gas on the North Slope. They haven't gone into this project and they've actually withdrawn from the project. So my question is, why have they withdrawn when it could be a profitable project for them? Was it not profitable? What are some hazards there, if there are any? So I think going forward, I'd want to have some more questions answered, particularly from the owners of the gas that's up there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And mixing it up again, let's go back to Kevin Myers to be number 2 on this question. Specifically, Mr. Myers, what needs to be done to further the AK LNG project and terminus in Nikiski?
Well, first of all, I want to just say the legislature is supportive of this project, and we hope it'll work. But we have not seen the numbers, the financial numbers, to know if it'll work yet or not. We don't know who the investors are yet. I think that the oil companies are more than willing to put their gas in the pipeline because they want to do something with the gas too. And the reason why this works for the state to do this versus the oil companies is because the state gets some tax advantages, federal tax advantages that the private sector doesn't. So if this project's going to go and if it's going to work, I think the current proposal that the governor has is the one that is going to have to work. We're very supportive. We want the jobs and we want the additional revenue. But again, keep in mind that we're already looking at something between $40 and $50 billion. And when we built TAPS, we thought it was going to be $800 million, and it ended up being $8 billion. So this is a big project. We need to see the numbers, and we need to be confident with the numbers.
Thank you. Stephen Wright, specifics on the AK LNG project.
Okay, first of all, the AK LNG project is not profitable as it sits, and there are some options out there to make our natural gas profitable. We can do it in phases. I've had this discussion a few times with Michael Sheldon, and he was running for governor, and we've talked about, they could do phases to Fairbanks and so on and so on. So I think that there is a potential way that we can utilize our natural gas once we get it back from the industry, and the industry also has to show that it's profitable, and right now it does not look as though it's profitable. It doesn't pencil out. So why would we put all of our permanent fund into a pipeline and then it won't produce anymore? So I think that's something that we need to look at strongly and back off on at this point. Thank you.
And Byron Malott on the AK LNG project, please.
The project needs to continue on the track that it's on to the degree that any permitting or regulatory aspects can be fast-tracked. That should be a priority. The market will ultimately determine the reality of this pipeline. All forecasts thus far show that with the state in control, with gas supplied by the owners, with the investment potential that is already being finalized, that this is a viable project and should be strongly supported by all Alaskans.
Thank you. Sharon Jackson, on the AK LNG project, any specifics that need to be done to expedite that project?
Well, it is a very, very expensive project for hopes and ifs ifs and whens. I think there need to be study so that we, the people, know how much it is actually going to cost. Therefore, we know if we can afford it or not. I think there's a lot more work to be done, but like everyone said, thank God for and more, right? So we have other resources available. Let's not put all of our eggs in one expensive basket, depending on federal money to sustain us. We are an independent state, very resourceful, and we can do this.
Thank you. Edie Grunwald, on the AKLNG project, any specifics?
I love the way you word your question. It's not like, do we want it or not? It's how do we fast track it? And I think the way that we can fast track it is, because right now there is a glut in the market for gas. We've got Texas, we've got Louisiana, and also Russia is selling tons of gas to China right now. And then we have Dubai, who is getting their pipeline going. So if we look out into the future, right now it won't pencil out. You won't make any money. We definitely don't want to deal with the Chinese, sorry, but they're communists and they want to get a hold into our country, and we would be part of that process. So we need to make sure that we can get the private sector, the private industry involved to partner with the state, and make sure that if it's phases, if it's steps, but if we're going to start making decisions and making it happen, but not on the backs of Alaskans, because I don't like being the liability for this big expenditure. So, and Russia is a state-owned plant.
Thank you very much. And we are running a little over time, so we're going to cut back the closing remarks to 45 seconds, and we'll start with Deborah Call. Deborah, 45 seconds to close, please.
Well, I want to say thank you to the Kenai Chamber, and thank you for everybody being here. I appreciate the opportunity to share my views and my vision for Alaska. I strongly believe in workforce development. I spent years doing that with the oil industry, and I also spent years working in rural economic development, so I'm very familiar with the businesses. And one of the things to assure you that I didn't go into was I'm very familiar with process development, where we make sure things are consistent when we implement regulations, particularly in the oil industry, because there's profit margins that we need to maintain, and there's metrics in which we have to meet on those processes. So that's something I think that we can apply to the state services and get the state services that you want and the quality that you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next to close remarks is Edie Grunwald.
Hi there, I'm currently Edie Grunwald, retired, and I want to be the next lieutenant governor, but not for me, but for you. This wasn't on my to-do list, but I'm here to listen to the people and be the best partner to the governor that I can be, and I'm ready to step up into the position. God forbid if something were to happen to the governor, because readiness is my middle name. I've been ready for 31 years, I've been prepared, and each door that's been open, I've been ready to step through and make it happen. And I'm here today. I've been living in Alaska for 33 years. I know the lay of the land. I've lived in Fairbanks for 12 and a half, Anchorage for 8, and in the Mat-Su since 2005. So I'm here for you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Sharon Jackson, closing remarks, please.
Thank you. I just want to quote the preamble of our state constitution, which states, "We, the people of Alaska, are grateful to God and to those who founded our nation and pioneered this great land in order to sustain and transmit succeeding generations our heritage of political, civil, and religious liberties within these unions of state, do ordain and establish the Constitution for the state of Alaska." I think that we, the people, need to honor that, and I will make sure it is done as your Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Sharon Jackson. And Byron Malott.
I look forward to serving another 4 years with Governor Walker. The great steps that have been taken to close the fiscal gap, more work still to be done. We need to begin to grow Alaska again. We need to continue to reach out across our state so that every Alaskan has meaningful opportunity in their future. Bottom line for that is education. The need to grow Alaska, though, is crucial. Expand our economy beyond oil. We have the opportunity to do that now, and I believe this administration has the vision to do it.
Thank you. And Kevin Mariers, your closing remarks, please, sir.
Well, thank you. Again, with my almost 40 years of experience in the private sector and 26 years in elected office, I think that makes, as well as having a master's in business administration and a master's in public administration, I think that gives me the balance that's needed for a good lieutenant governor and for the person who potentially could have to step in and be the next governor. Again, I just want to make our ticket, the Republican ticket, the strongest ticket as possible, because what I've noticed is that the budget starts and ends with the governor. So we need to elect a conservative governor who's going to introduce a lean budget, and then if the legislature adds to it, he'll veto it. And then finally, I just want to say that hopefully you'll pick up a flyer for Meyer on your table, and then when you go vote, you'll hire Meyer.
Thank you. Wrap it up for us. Stephen Wright, please, on the Republican ballot.
All right, I believe strongly in efficient government. I believe strongly in less government, more privatization. I believe that it's important that we need to move Alaska forward. We have to have integrity in what we do. We have to have people that are willing and wanting to serve, and we need to have excellence. If those of you who don't know that, that's part of the creed of the Air Force, and I was in the Air Force for 22 years. So I think it's very important that we look at everything that's going on, and we take a step back on some of these things, and some of these things we need to maximize the benefit for the people of Alaska, because if it's not for the people of Alaska, then we shouldn't be doing it, and that's my goal. I mean, it's in the Constitution that we need to maximize the benefit for the people of the state. And remember to vote for Stephen Wright on August 21st, and Michael Sheldon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And once again, we applaud the price that's been paid for our right to elect our own government, those who fight and die for us, and we appreciate these candidates for taking advantage of the system, and give them all a big round of applause. Thank you. I know I'm late. Get on your feet here. Come on. Back to you.
Thanks, Merrill, and thank you for all the candidates for being here today. We are short on time, so a couple of quick announcements. Next joint chamber lunch is next Wednesday at the sports complex in Soldotna, which we will have the gubernatorial candidates. Please RSVP by noon on Tuesday. And there's a bunch of flyers on your table, so